Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, February the 12th. We are going to cover Wednesday's 11-game slate, go position by position, talk about the plays that stand out to me the most, looking at this slate the night before. We'll hit on some plays I like for Draftkings, 5 guys specifically, and then we'll talk about 5 guys I specifically like for Yahoo, given their pricing. As we go, we will build out an early core of 5 plays that I see on both sites. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, you can follow me on Twitter. Link down below is my Twitter account. If you want to give me a follow, I would appreciate it at DFS by Noah. Also, link down below is my Patreon. If you do want to check out all the exclusive content I have to offer over there, get access to my article, my updated core plays, our Discord chat you can join. I do have a lot of content going up on Patreon throughout the day. I get these videos up on YouTube the night before. These are kind of my first looks at the slate. But if you want to get access to more of my updated content, that can be found over on Patreon, which you can check out, link down below. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at Wednesday's slate. This is our last big slate before the All-Star break. We just have 2 games tomorrow on Thursday, or we have a 2-game slate Thursday, and then we have a week off, and there's no more games till next Thursday. So this is our last big slate. Let's try and finish it strong. We'll start off at point guard. At the top, Luka Doncic, our most expensive point guard, $10,900. We have already gotten word that Luka expects to play. He said that he's going to play Wednesday, which is interesting because $10,900 is an incredibly cheap price tag for Luka Doncic if he's fully healthy. Don't know yet if he's going to have a minutes limit or if he's going to be restricted. He got injured on the 28th against the Suns. That was probably just over 2 weeks ago, I think. So he's been out for about 2 weeks. It was an ankle injury. That makes me assume he's most likely going to be on a minutes limit. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see here. If Luka is not limited, though, I mean, 10-9, he can easily pay off this price tag. This is a guy that's near 12K when he's fully healthy. We're definitely getting him at a discount today. Just got to keep an eye on his minutes restriction. If he's not limited, I actually would like him quite a bit today as one of the pay-up options we could go to at point guard. But I do like Trae Young a ton. I think Trae Young is in a smash spot against Cleveland. Cleveland has been one of the worst defensive teams versus point guards and just versus guards in general. This is a matchup that I've targeted all season, taking guards against Cleveland. And it's worked out a lot. Trae Young has already faced Cleveland once this season and did have a big game against them. Went for 63 Draftkings points in 36 minutes. It makes sense. This is a bad defensive team. In terms of defensive rating, Cleveland is second to last. They rank 29th in defensive rating. They don't play at a fast pace. I mean, they're a pretty slow-paced team, but we know Atlanta's going to push the pace. Trae Young is such a high-usage player, over a 30% usage rate this season, averaging close to 1.5 fantasy points per minute. The dude just has so much upside, especially in a matchup as good as this one. So I really like Trae Young. He's one of my favorite spin-ups today. Definitely going to be a guy I'm trying to get into my builds at point guard. I think switching over to Yahoo and looking at their pricing, I like Trae Young quite a bit as well. $46, so he's cheaper than guys like LeBron, Lillard, Luka. $10 cheaper than Luka. $6 cheaper than both LeBron and Lillard. So definitely like Trae Young on Yahoo as well. I think this is a smash spot for him. Like I said, one of my favorite pay-up options. Right now, there's actually not a ton of great value, which is kind of crazy because it's an 11-game slate. Normally, we would have a lot of value for a big slate. Maybe that'll change, though, as the day goes on Wednesday. Maybe some injury news will come out and some value will open up. But it's pretty tough to get multiple studs into your lineup right now. You kind of have to limit it to one, just given the lack of value that we do have. But if I'm going to pay up at point guard today, I think Trae Young is by far my favorite guy to go to. Like I said, Luka's underpriced if he's not going to be limited. Damian Lillard's in a good spot against Memphis. Fast-paced game. I don't know if we have a total on this game right now. Yeah, we actually do have a total. It's at 235, which is the highest on the slate out of all the games that we have totals for. So I don't mind going to Lillard at 10-2. I think I would prefer Trae Young, though, for a little bit more. In this 8K, 7K range, D'Angelo Russell played pretty well in his debut with the Raptors. I mean, 30 DraftKings points, not great, but he shot really well from the field. He got 32 minutes. I think as he just gets more familiar with the team, the fantasy production is going to come eventually. I don't expect him to put up 30 DraftKings points every night. Obviously, playing alongside Karl-Anthony Towns, this is not the same as when he was with the Warriors. I think his fantasy stock took a little bit of a hit going from the Golden State to Minnesota. At 8,300, he's expensive, but it is a really good matchup. The Hornets, they play at a slow pace, but they're really bad defensively. So those two things kind of offset each other. I'm fine with Russell. I don't think he's a core play for me by any means. He's probably my favorite guy to go to in this mid-range. Devin Booker, well, I would say Devin Booker I'd probably prefer over Russell. Booker probably gives you more upside, definitely safer. We know Booker's going to play like 38 minutes if it's a close game. This game should be close against the Warriors. I don't know if we have a line on this game yet. Yeah, we don't have a line on this game. I would assume it's a close game. He's probably my favorite guy to go to in that 8K range between like the 8K, 7K guards. We do know that Giannis is going to be out today, but Eric Bledsoe did get a big price bump on DraftKings. I mean, he's $7,700. Usually when Giannis is out, we just plug and play Bledsoe. We just plug and play Middleton. But these guys did get their prices adjusted. Like on the last slate when Bledsoe was $6,800, he was one of the most popular players on the slate, and for good reason. Today at $7,700, he's still in play, but I don't think he's a must-play by any means. I think if I'm going to get my exposure to these Milwaukee guys, it's going to be on Yahoo where they didn't get priced up enough. Bledsoe did see a little bit of a bump. He was $25 on the last slate, got bumped up to $29. But that's still too cheap for Eric Bledsoe. When Giannis is out, Bledsoe should be like $36, $38. He should be priced close to guys like Devin Booker, some of those other point guards, shooting guards like Lowry. He should be up there with Lowry. So I actually like Eric Bledsoe a ton on Yahoo. I think I'm going to be playing him a lot over there where he's still underpriced. On DraftKings at $7,700, I don't think you have to play him. He's still probably my favorite guy to go to. Like I think I'd rather play him over guys like De'Aaron Fox, Van Vliet, Elfrid Payton, Dinwiddie, Lowry. Like I'd play Bledsoe over all those guys, but I don't think I'm going out of my way to pay $7,700 for Eric Bledsoe. And it's not really that good of a matchup either against the Pacers. But you guys know when Giannis is off the floor, I mean Bledsoe and Middleton just see massive bumps in usage, massive bumps in their fantasy numbers. And you saw it last game. Bledsoe put up like 52 DraftKings points. With Giannis out, Middleton had like 54. Middleton's usage rate spikes up to 33% with Giannis off the floor. Averages close to 1.5 fantasy points per minute. Very similar numbers for Eric Bledsoe, 33% usage rate, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. These guys are still going to be very productive. It makes sense that they got priced up. I just don't think you have to play them at $7,700. Like if they're going to be massive chalk, I think you could probably get away from it. If they're going to be low owned because of the price coming up, then that's a situation I want to get on these guys because, I mean, they still have 50, 55 point upside when you take Giannis off the floor. But guys like Elfrid Payton, John Morant, I do want to mention just because they're in great spots. Elfrid Payton getting to face the Wizards at home. John Morant getting to face the Blazers at home. I like both those matchups. With their price tags, I think I would rather go to Eric Bledsoe over those two guys. But I did want to mention them because the matchup is so good. We know how bad the Wizards are defensively. They play at a fast pace. Portland's also bad defensively, and they also play at a relatively fast pace. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, I think, those guys are very similarly priced to Bledsoe. Payton and Morant are both actually more expensive than Bledsoe. They're both at $30, whereas Bledsoe's $29, so I still would prefer to go to Bledsoe there. Tough matchup for Jamal Murray, but $7K, still a little bit too cheap of a price tag for him, so did want to mention him even in a tough spot against the Lakers. In the $6K range, I think Karis LeVert's fine as long as Kyrie remains out. I'm pretty sure Kyrie's already been ruled out today. His price actually dropped down a little bit. He was $7K on the last slate, had sort of a rough game. Now he's down to $6,600. I think you could take advantage of that and look to roster him today with the price coming down. Reggie Jackson, I've been rostering a lot recently, but with Derrick Rose expected back, don't really want to go to Reggie Jackson. Don't really want to go to Rose either. Ricky Rubio in a pretty good spot against the Warriors. Feels like a nice price for him of $5,900. The guy has definitely been struggling, though, recently. I mean, you look at the game log, not very pretty. Under 30 DraftKings points in 10 straight games. There's still upside for Rubio. I know he's been popular on the last few slates recently, which is definitely... I don't want to roster him if he's going to be popular, but if nobody's going to roster Rubio, I don't mind taking a shot on him with the price still really cheap. He did lose minutes to blowout last game. He could have had a better game if it was close, but only played 25 minutes because the Lakers beat them by 25. Suns got blown out. Mainly, Rubio's going to play 32, 33 minutes if it's a close game, which this game against the Warriors should be. But other point guards, not much stands out here. Don't want to play Brunson with Luka back. Mike Conley rested last game, but I expect he's back today, so I don't really want to go to Jordan Clarkson. The guy that I do like, though, for value is Ish Smith. So Ish Smith, I think, is one of the better cheap options we have at point guard, and there's not many of them right now. He's only 4,800 though. Continues to start for the Wizards with Isaiah Thomas no longer on the team, Jordan McRae no longer on the team. Ish Smith is their starting point guard, and he had a very good game Wednesday or Tuesday night against the Bulls. Had like 34, 35 DraftKings points. Played about 32 minutes or 30 minutes, I believe. That's what he's going to play most nights, 30 to 32 minutes. The fantasy production should be somewhat consistent. This is a guy that's going to give you probably at least 22 to 25 DraftKings points most nights as long as he's getting 30, 32 minutes. This is a great matchup against the Knicks. Price tag didn't move. I actually like Ish Smith quite a bit as a value point guard, only 4,800 on DraftKings. I think he definitely stands out as one of the better cheap options to go to. If you want to play him on Yahoo, I'm fine with that. He's pretty cheap over there as well, still $16. I just have a feeling I'm going to be playing a lot of Trae Young. I'm going to be playing a lot of Eric Bledsoe. I don't know if I want to go to Ish Smith in the util given some of the plays we have at other positions. So mainly just a DraftKings play for me on Ish Smith, but I could see getting to him on Yahoo. I don't mind that. Victor Oladipo was very chalky on the last slate. Kind of disappointed. He was only 4,200, put up 22 DraftKings points in 27 minutes. It's a fast-paced or pace-up spot against the Bucks. Losing Giannis makes their defense a little bit worse, but this is still a really good defensive team and still a really good team overall, even with Giannis off the floor. I don't really want to go to Victor Oladipo today. I mean, he's going to be limited to 27 to 28 minutes. He's not been very productive this season. He still is a high-usage player. His usage rate on the season is still like 28, 29% in the short sample size he's been on the floor, but he's only averaged like 0.75 fantasy points per minute. So honestly, I feel like I don't really need to go to Victor Oladipo. I'd rather play Ish Smith over Oladipo at the same price tag if I'm going to go to a guy this cheap. Really good matchup for Darius Garland, but his production's so inconsistent, you never know what you're going to get from him. I did want to mention him, though, because it is a good matchup against the Hawks. RJ Barrett's in a great spot against the Wizards, 4,500. He's very cheap, but his minutes have been inconsistent since coming back from injury, just 18, 21, 22 minutes. He did get the start against the Pistons, but only played 21 minutes. Just hasn't been very productive. If you want to take a shot on him, I mean, I'm fine with that at 4,500, but he's definitely risky. Like, it feels like, or getting RJ Barrett at 4,500 feels like a steal in this matchup. But with how his minutes have been so low, with how inconsistent he's been, the production's been down. Honestly, I don't think he's that great of a value, even in a really good matchup. So, doubt he's someone I go too heavy on. Kai Bowman had a good game his first game since moving into the starting lineup, but then really struggled against Miami. Still started that game, but only played 15 minutes, 8 DraftKings points. The production is going to be very inconsistent from this guy. The minutes are probably going to be inconsistent, but he's 4K. He's going to start against the Suns. If you want to go to him, I don't mind that, especially given the lack of value we have right now. But I think that's it for point guard, so let's go ahead and talk about some shooting guard plays now. So at this position, Bradley Beal, really good spot today against the Knicks, 9,600. I'm fine with him as a pay-up option, but I don't feel like he's going to be a core play for me. Wasn't a core play for me on Tuesday's slate. I just didn't feel like I had to have him at his, I think he was 9,500 on Tuesday against the Bulls. Didn't get much of him on Tuesday. Don't expect him to be a core play for me either. Like, I like Trae Young. I like Luka if he's not limited. There's guys at other positions you could look to today, like some of these expensive centers. You got Drummond against the Hawks. I mean, Jokic against the Lakers, I could see going there. Even like Vooch against Detroit, that's a decent matchup. Randall against the Wizards. So don't feel like Bradley Beal is going to be a priority for me. Really don't think I'm going to be paying up at shooting guard much. If I was going to pay up, I'd probably play Spencer Dinwiddie, I guess, if I had to play somebody. We know Dinwiddie just going to continue to get big minutes, going to be very productive with Kyrie off the floor. Last 2 games been really productive, 36 and 35 minutes, 49 and 47 DraftKings points. This is a guy that's going to average like close to 1.3 fantasy points per minute when Irving's off the floor, has over a 30% usage rate. So you could definitely look to Dinwiddie even in a tough matchup. I'm fine going to him. In the 6K range, though, not really much stands out here in terms of core plays. In the 5K range, I know Dylan Brooks was like massive chalk on the last slate, on Sunday's slate against the Wizards. He really disappointed. He was 4,900. He played 30 minutes, only had 14 DraftKings points. Who knows what you're going to get from this guy, but he's 5,500. He's somewhat cheap. It is a fast-paced game against the Blazers, so I could see using him as sort of a shooting guard value play. Still don't think he's going to be a core play for me, though. I don't really see much at shooting guard. This stands out looking at this like the night before. In terms of value plays, Malik Beasley played 30-plus minutes again, got 32 minutes last game against the Raptors, 29 minutes. He's played 29 and 32 minutes in his 2 games with the Timberwolves. He started both games, 48, 24 DraftKings points. This is a much better matchup against the Hornets, who are not a good defensive team. So if we're going to get 30, 32 minutes from Malik Beasley against the Hornets, at 4,700, I don't mind him as a shooting guard value play. But I think that's probably it for shooting guard options in terms of cheap plays here. I think we covered everything. So let's go ahead and move on to small forward now. We'll take a look at this position. So looking at guys I haven't already mentioned, I talked about Luka earlier. LeBron, probably won't get to LeBron today. I'd rather play Trae Young. I'd rather play Luka if he's not limited. Chris Middleton, though, I do want to talk about. So obviously with Giannis off the floor, Chris Middleton gets a massive boost. Played 34 minutes last game against the Kings with Giannis out. Had 57 DraftKings points. Really not a surprise. Like I said earlier, 33% usage rate this season for Middleton with Giannis off the floor, averaging close to 1.5 fantasy points per minute. At 8,800, you need him to put up 50-plus DraftKings points to even be a good play at that price tag. Middleton has 50-plus point upside in him easily. So I don't mind going to him. I just don't think, very similar to Eric Bledsoe, I don't think he's a must-play. If I was going to play one of Middleton or Bledsoe, I think given the $1,000 savings, I'd rather play Bledsoe. But on Yahoo, I think I really want to try and play both these guys again. I was very heavy on both of them on the last slate. They got priced up, Bledsoe up to 29, Middleton up to 38, but still $38 for Middleton's probably $5, $6 too cheap. Middleton's a $45, $46 player when you take Giannis off the floor. And small forward's always a weak position on Yahoo. There's never any small forward plays that really stand out. And just looking at the position right now, nothing really catches my eye. So I definitely like Chris Middleton on Yahoo. I think I'm going to have the most exposure to these Milwaukee guys over there rather than DraftKings. Honestly, don't expect to play a ton of them today on DraftKings because with the price coming up, they're not must-plays by any means. But other small forwards we could take a look at. With DeAndre Ayton out last game, Kelly Oubre came off the bench. I don't really know why they did that. I think it was just so he could play maybe some backup center. I doubt that happens again. Even if Ayton's out, I assume Cheikh Diallo starts at center and then Oubre just starts at the 4. They did start Cam Johnson at the 4, but I just think that was just due to matchup against the Lakers, against a Warriors team that doesn't play nearly as big as the Lakers do. I think Oubre moves back into the starting lineup today, so if you want to go to him at 7,200, he's fine. Talked about Karis LeVert earlier. You could look to him with the price coming down a little bit. Don't really want to go to any of these Dallas guys now that Luka's back. With their prices up to where they are, I don't want to play them. Mikal Bridges is fine, 5,300 on DraftKings. I've been saying it the last few slates. The guy's just going to play a ton of minutes, 34, 36 minutes if it's a close game. The production is going to be inconsistent, but in a really good matchup against the Warriors, I could see using him at small forward. OG had a massive game last game with Serge Ibaka out, played 36 minutes against Minnesota and had 55 DraftKings points. Don't expect that kind of production from him, but I do expect him to get a small boost when you take Ibaka off the floor. That's just more time that OG gets to play at the 4, where he should be more productive. Should help his rebounding, and we saw that last game with him getting 12 rebounds. If Ibaka's out again, I don't think OG's a bad play. I just don't expect 55 DraftKings points. I'd probably project him for 32 minutes and probably 26 DraftKings points, which is fine at 5,200. Yahoo, I think he's still really cheap over here. He's $14 at small forward. If I'm going to play a cheap small forward, I'd definitely take OG over guys like Robinson, DJJ, Okogie, Hunter. I'd take OG over all those guys. So I do have a little bit of interest. Just don't expect a massive game like he put up last time out. Jay Crowder has been playing incredibly well since getting traded to the Heat. 2 games coming off the bench. He's played 35 and 31 minutes, 45 and 39 DraftKings points. He has shot incredibly well, 54% from the field in both those games, 62% from 3 against Portland, 50% from 3 against the Warriors. Don't expect him to shoot that well moving forward, but it's at least good to see that he's involved in the offense. He's been grabbing rebounds, 11 rebounds, 8 rebounds the last 2 games. He's up to 5,100. It's a tough matchup against the Jazz. I think I'll let other people chase this Jay Crowder sort of heater that he's on, but I think he will be a productive player on this team. I think if he's going to get 30, 32 minutes, he's at least viable. I just don't know if I want to pay 5,100 for him on a 11-game slate when we probably will have better value open up as the day goes on. But looking under 5K for small forward values, Kyle Anderson's been starting recently for the Grizzlies since Jay Crowder got traded. Solomon Hill's no longer on the team. We've seen Anderson play 26, 28, 30 minutes the last 3 games. This is a really good matchup against Portland. This should be a fast-paced game. If we're going to get 30 minutes from Kyle Anderson at 4,500, he's a fine guy to look to as a value. He's also very cheap on Yahoo, similar to OG. You got Kyle Anderson at $12 at small forward. So if you're not paying up for Middleton at small forward on Yahoo, I think your best route to go would be to go cheap for guys like OG or Kyle Anderson. Honestly, feel like I want to try and get Middleton in though. Just he's the best small forward, above the rest. Maybe LeVert at 25 you could look to, but really want to try and get Middleton if possible. But yeah, I think that's probably it for small forward plays in terms of value options. I don't think there's really any punt plays I see under 5K. So, well, I mean, I guess if Cam Johnson starts again, I don't think we're going to get that news before lock. But he started last game against the Lakers with 8 and out. They started Check Diallo at the 5 and Johnson at the 4. Kelly Oubre moved back to the bench. Not sure if that was just for matchup, if that's just a one-time thing. But maybe if Johnson starts again, if he's going to get 23, 25 minutes, he could be option at 3,200. But I'd probably expect he goes back to the bench and Oubre moves back into the starting lineup. So not really much there. So moving on to power forward, looking at this position, really not much stands out, in terms of obviously Giannis you can't play, but Davis at 10K against the Nuggets, don't really see myself going there. I think I'd rather play Trae Young. I'd rather play Drummond, who we'll talk about in the later on in the video. Don't really see myself building around AD. Sabonis is up to 9,800, so I don't really want to pay that price tag for him. I think if I'm going to pay up at power forward, I like 2 guys here. Pascal Siakam against Brooklyn. This was the same matchup they had a couple days ago. In that game, Siakam put up 36 DraftKings points in 34 minutes. That was with Serge Ibaka playing. With Serge Ibaka out in their last game against Minnesota, Siakam was very productive, had 56 DraftKings points in 37 minutes. If Ibaka were to sit again, that is a boost for Siakam. He should get more minutes at the 5. He should be very productive. We know this is a guy that's going to be productive anyway, but getting Ibaka off the floor, we already know Marc Gasol's out. That should definitely help Pascal Siakam, so I like him 8,700 if Ibaka sits again. I think Julius Randle, even with his price way up there at 8,600, is in a smash spot today against the Wizards. This is a guy that just has massive upside. I know it was a double overtime game against the Hawks, but even at the end of regulation, Julius Randle still had 50 DraftKings points. This dude just has so much upside. It's hard to say he's a bad play at 8,600 because he can put up 50, 60 DraftKings points any night. For what it's worth, he's really done well against the Wizards this season, averaging 55 DraftKings points through 2 games against them. I still like Julius Randle quite a bit, and I honestly think he's my favorite power forward to pay up for if I was going to pay up at the position. If we look over to Yahoo, take a look at their pricing. Julius Randle's been really cheap on Yahoo the last few slates. He's been really chalky. He did get priced up today. He's up to $37, but he's probably still my favorite power forward to pay up for there as well. I think I'd rather play him over Siakam, over Sabonis. With Luka back, I don't really want to go to Porzingis, so I actually like Julius Randle quite a bit. Don't expect him to be a core play for me, but he's definitely one of my favorite power forwards if I'm going to pay up at the position. A big injury to watch heading into Wednesday. Few injuries to watch today, which is kind of surprising, but one of the big ones is that Kevin Love is questionable. If he were to sit, I would say it's most likely going to be Larry Nance that benefits the most, who we'll talk about in a second. I assume Larry Nance starts at the 4, and then obviously Drummond will still start at center. If Kevin Love plays, though, even in a good matchup against the Hawks, I don't really want to go to him at 7,400. With Andre Drummond now on this team, I think that is going to hurt Kevin Love. That's going to hurt his rebounding and just his production overall. So really don't like him that much, even in a good matchup. I think looking in this mid-range, Jaren Jackson Jr. I like quite a bit in this matchup against Portland. Fast-paced game. I think he's a fine guy to look to at 6,400. In the 5K range, you got OG you could play here if Ibaka sits again. I wouldn't mind going to him. Rui, though, I actually like quite a bit as a value play. So I was pretty high on him on Tuesday's slate. I liked him a lot in that matchup against the Bulls. He did have a very good game on Tuesday. I think he finished with 36 DraftKings points, played 30 minutes. Even though it's a back-to-back, I assume Rui gets probably 30 minutes again, 30, 32 minutes. In a matchup against the Knicks, a team that plays big, they're going to need Rui out there, a guy with size to defend. Guys like Randall, Taj Gibson, Mitchell Robinson, Bobby Portis. So I like Rui a lot at 5,100. If we're getting 30, 32 minutes from him, he can easily get you a fantasy point per minute, especially in a really good matchup against the Knicks. So I like him a lot on DK. I think you can also go to him on Yahoo. Fine guy to look to over there. $18 at power forward. Looks like a good option to go to. Yeah, played 32 minutes against the Bulls Tuesday night. Had 39 fantasy points, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Just overall, very productive game from Rui. So I like him quite a bit as sort of a cheap value at power forward, as sort of an early look value. Maybe as the day goes on, Wednesday we'll get some better value opening up. But right now, the value is kind of minimal. There's not really much that stands out. But there could be a lot of potential value at power forward at the position, depending on how some injuries shake out. So, like I said above earlier, or with Kevin Love, if he winds up sitting, I think Larry Nance most likely draws the start. At 5,100 on DraftKings, usually when Larry Nance starts, he plays like 30, 32 minutes, if not more. Great matchup against the Hawks. He would become a great value. Even playing alongside Andre Drummond, I still expect Nance to be pretty productive. He's a very productive player just when he gets minutes. And obviously the matchup is fantastic. So if Love's out, really like Larry Nance. If DeAndre Ayton remains out, which I think might be the case today, this is the Suns' last game before the All-Star break. I really feel like they're not going to rush back Ayton just to play one game before a break. I think they're going to sit him and just let him heal up over the All-Star break. I'm assuming he's out again, so Check Diallo we could definitely look to as a value option. He played 39 minutes against the Lakers on Monday night. They really had no other bigs, and I assume if Ayton's out again, they're probably going to have to give Diallo like 34, 36 minutes, if not more. This is a much better matchup against the Warriors. He put up 25 DraftKings points in 39 minutes. He's always been a productive player when given the minutes. So I do like him quite a bit as a value option. I'm assuming Ayton sits again, which makes him a really good value. If we don't get this news before lock, it does make it a bit risky. But the Suns most likely will have a shoot-around because this isn't a back-to-back or anything. They didn't host a shoot-around on Monday, but I think that was just kind of, I'm not sure why that happened. They should have a shoot-around today, so we will hopefully get an update on Ayton in the afternoon. Assuming he's out, I mean, check Diallo, especially on Yahoo. He looks like a great value. He's minimum salary still. He's power forward as well, so you don't have to use up like your center spot to roster check Diallo. I like him a ton, assuming Ayton is out. And on DraftKings at 5K, he would still be in play for me if he sits because he's going to have to play monster minutes, and this is a much better matchup than the previous one against the Lakers. But another big injury we're going to have to watch heading into Wednesday's slate is the status of Serge Ibaka. So Serge Ibaka was out on the last slate with an illness. We saw Rondé Hollis-Jefferson get the start, was very productive, played really well, played 34 minutes and had 36 DraftKings points. Assuming Ibaka sits again, which I think is possible, I feel like these injuries, these guys that are questionable heading into Wednesday, I feel like most of them are going to wind up sitting just because this is most likely these are the teams like last game before the All-Star break. There's no need to rush these guys back before the All-Star break just to play one game. So I could see it a scenario where Ibaka sits again, which is going to make RHJ a really good value again. I mean, he's 4,400, got priced up a little bit, but honestly, that still feels like too cheap of a price tag for RHJ if he's starting and playing 32, 34 minutes. And if we switch over to Yahoo, he's very cheap over there as well at $11. We should get word, hopefully, on Ibaka's status in the afternoon. If he winds up playing, I'll obviously have to make changes, and I'll post some updates over on Patreon in the afternoon. But I'm assuming Diallo and RHJ start again. I'm assuming Ayton and Ibaka remain out, which makes these guys really good value play, especially on Yahoo where they're really cheap. And on DraftKings, Diallo at 5K, RHJ at 4,400. Like, these guys would still be in play for me as value options. Last guy I want to talk about is Juancho Hernan-Gomez. Very similar to Malik Beasley, just continues to start, play pretty good minutes. Last 2 games with the Timberwolves, he has started at power forward, played 27 and 26 minutes, 23 and 23 DraftKings points. Been pretty consistent, 3,900, very cheap price tag, very good matchup against the Hornets. I don't mind going to him as sort of an early look value. But if some better value opens up, then obviously we probably won't need to go there. We could look elsewhere. A lot of people played Chris Boucher last slate with Ibaka out, which was kind of surprising to see him only play 13 minutes. I originally had Boucher in my lineup, and then once we got the news that Hollis-Jefferson was starting, I swapped off of Boucher to RHJ, which obviously worked out well. It was surprising, though, that Boucher only played 13 minutes, even with Ibaka and Gasol both out. Assuming Ibaka remains out and RHJ starts again, I just have to assume that Boucher just plays like the backup 5, probably gets like 14 to 16 minutes, so even at 3,400, even how productive of a player he is, can't really go there. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about center now. We'll cover this position real quick just before we end the video. So at the top, we got Karl-Anthony Towns in a smash spot today against the Hornets, 10,500 on DraftKings. I love Karl Anthony Towns in this matchup. He's very expensive today, and right now I think Trae Young's probably my favorite guy to pay up for. Plus, we're going to talk about Drummond, who's in a great spot and is $1,000 cheaper. But hard to ignore Cat in this matchup. Even with D'Angelo Russell on the team and in the lineup their last game, Cat was still pretty productive in a tough matchup against the Raptors. Still played huge minutes, 37 minutes, put up 50 DraftKings points. Assuming we're getting 36, 38 minutes from Cat today against the Hornets, I mean, I know take this with a grain of salt. Like this was earlier in the season when D'Angelo Russell was not on the team, but in only 27 minutes, Cat dropped 82 freaking DraftKings points on the Hornets in only 27 minutes. Like, there's just so much upside for Towns in this matchup. He is one of my favorite spend-up options on the slate. I think right now I'm going to have him ranked behind guys like Trae Young. We're going to talk about Drummond. I have him ranked behind Drummond, but he would definitely be my third favorite pay-up option behind Young and Drummond. I like this matchup a ton for Towns. Looks like a great play at 10-5. You can definitely play him at that salary. Even with D'Angelo Russell on the team, I still think Towns is going to be a very productive player, going to be a high-usage player. Like, I'd rather play Towns over Jokic. Just much better matchup. Going to be equally as productive as Jokic. And now that Denver's starting to get healthy again, I think that is going to cut into Jokic's production just a little bit. So love Towns at the top. Also love Andre Drummond. I think this is a smash spot for Andre Drummond against the Hawks. With Kevin Love's status in question, I think if Kevin Love were to sit today, that just makes Drummond an even better play. But at 9,400, like that is still too cheap of a price tag for Andre Drummond. He only played 29 minutes in his debut with the Cavs, but they just got beat down in that game against the Clippers. He still had 47 DraftKings points, though, in only 29 minutes. Was still very productive, had 19 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 2 steals. With how good this matchup is, I mean, Drummond should easily be able to put up 50-plus DraftKings points if he's going to get 34, 36 minutes, which is what I'm assuming he plays when healthy, when he's in the starting lineup and games are close. Like, we're going to get 34, 36 minutes from Drummond. I don't know if he's going to play like 38 minutes, which is what he was getting when he was back with Detroit. But 34, 35 should be plenty of minutes, especially if Kevin Love sits. Like, that just opens up even more opportunity for Drummond. Should be able to, like, eat on the glass even more. We know how bad this Hawks team is defensively. One of the worst defensive teams in the league, 28th in defensive rating. In terms of rebounding, they are a terrible rebounding team that ranked 27th in rebound percentage. Just a smash spot for Andre Drummond. And given the lack of value, given the fact that he's over $1,000 cheaper than Karl Anthony Towns, I think I do prefer Drummond over Towns, at least as of now. If I can get both guys into my lineup, I'll try and do that. But I really like Trae Young as well. I think getting like Trae Young, Towns, and Drummond, like that's probably not going to work. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that unless we just get like a ton of 3K value, which I would say is probably unlikely. So right now, I think I'd have Trae Young number 1, Drummond number 2, Towns number 3 when you factor in price. But love all 3 of those guys. Those are probably my 3 favorite spend ups today if I'm paying up for studs on this slate. But we'll take a look at some other centers before we end the video. Talked about DeAndre Ayton. His status is big. He's questionable heading into Wednesday. If he sits, Check Diallo will be a big beneficiary. If Ayton plays, I don't think I really get to him at 9,200. I'd rather play Drummond for a couple hundred more. Talked about Siakam and Randall. I like both those guys. Whiteside in a fast-paced game against the Grizzlies, I think is fine to go to. On the other side, I like Joval quite a bit in tournaments. I think this is a spot where Joval's going to have to play 30, 32 minutes. They're going to need his size to guard a guy like Hassan Whiteside. And lately, the minutes have been productive for Joval. He's played at least 28 minutes in 4 straight games. Seems like he's going to get about 28 to 30 minutes a night. Sometimes could play a little bit more. This feels like a spot where he gets 30, 32 minutes against, like I said, to defend Whiteside. And we know how productive of a player Joval is. High usage player, averaging about 1.3 fantasy points per minute on the season. Fast-paced game. I definitely like him in the mid-range at center. Christian Wood was a big disappointment last game. Got into some early foul trouble. Only put up 20 DraftKings points in 23 minutes against the Hornets. That was just a very disappointing game. It was a smash spot for Christian Wood, and he really struggled. I'd expect a bounce-back game from him today against Orlando. This is a tough matchup. I think with Wood being similarly priced to Joval, I think I'd rather go Joval, but it's pretty close. Wood's still in play for me. We know he's going to get monster minutes. If he doesn't get into foul trouble, if the game stays close, Christian Wood's playing 34, 36 minutes with Drummond no longer on the team, so I did want to mention him as well. Serge Ibaka, big injury to watch today. If he's out, we know who's going to benefit. That's RHJ. Siakam gets a boost as well. If Ibaka plays, I think in a really good matchup against Brooklyn, you could definitely go there at 6,300. Brook Lopez is fine with Giannis out, averages about a fantasy point per minute, probably going to play 28 to 30 minutes. Against a big Indiana front court, maybe Lopez gets a few more minutes, so I could see using him at 5,800. But that's probably it for value plays at center. You got some potential values here that we'll have to wait and see on with injuries, like Larry Nance, Check Diallo. Ersan's got priced up to 4,800, so even with Giannis out, don't really want to play Ersan at 4,800. He got priced up to like $14 on Yahoo, so I don't really like him there either. So yeah, guys, I think that's it for center. I think we covered everything in this position. This is definitely going to be a crazy slate, 11-game slate. Right now, there's not a ton of value that stands out. There's no like great value plays. I think some of the best values right now are like Ish Smith, potentially RHJ if Ibaka's out, potentially Diallo if Ayton sits again. If Kevin Love's out, maybe Larry Nance is a value. I like Rui as a cheap option. But there's no like 3K, 4K value plays like punt values, at least as of now. So going to be a pretty crazy slate. Hopefully we get some injury news as the day goes on Wednesday. Like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, I will have updates posted on Patreon. I'll have all my updated and in-depth content posted there. My article will get posted in the afternoon. I'll have my core plays up about an hour or two before lock. Those will be over on Patreon, and you can join our Discord chat if you become a Patreon member. Talk through the slate with us. I'll be in Discord throughout the day along with all the other members. Just kind of talking through the slate with each other, answering questions, just helping each other out. So check out the Patreon link down below. See all I have to offer over there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. I would appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button as well. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. If you have not yet, you can follow me on Twitter as well. Link down below is my Twitter account at DFS by Noah. But best of luck tonight, guys. Last big slate before the All-Star break. Let's get a W tonight. Let's win a little bit of money. Hope you guys enjoyed, and best of luck. Peace.